So just to announce, the meeting is being recorded by Area 58, and it's being recorded on Microsoft Teams as well for the people watching online. So we're going to present the Halifax Council on Aging project that the Building and Facilities Need Committee has been working on over the past 2 years. It's going to be Article 32 on the town meeting warrant. So this is a rendering of what the proposal is going to look like. There's a few minor changes since this was done a few weeks ago. There's a few tweaks that we've been working with Angelo on. So this is the proposed rendering. We have out on display a couple of the other drawings. So this is a floor plan schematic. This is one of the proposals right now. You'll see that we have three administrative offices and one nurse's office. We have an assembly area. We have an assembly area that provides 1,240 square feet, which should, when it's set up with just chairs, provide enough space for 125 people. With tables and chairs, I believe we said it was 80, sorry. So the financial impacts of this proposal. So to start off, we approved the elementary school project for window sidings and doors for fiscal year 2018. To take advantage of the low bond rates, the town borrowed just under $4 million at the time. The state actually increased the amount of items covered and will provide a total funding for that project of $2,208,932. So available for the project was a total of $6,203,770.40. The town has spent $4,658.30. This leaves us with a bond balance of $1,603,185 to be spent on this project. We are also requesting that the town meeting approve $140,000 from free cash, or what we normally had called in the past undesignated fund balance. There will be no impact to the property taxes for this project. One of the questions that came up previously was, so if there's no impact, why can't we just take the amount of money that's left and pay down the debt? When we borrowed the money for this project, we cannot pay down any principal on the project for at least 10 years. So if we don't do anything with this money, it's just going to sit in the account and the taxpayers will continue to pay on the full bond amount. So the Building and Facilities Needs Committee reviewed all the buildings in town and prioritized the needs of the departments. We did that just before the start of COVID. We went around to all of the buildings. We toured all of them. We then prioritized between short-term, long-term, short, mid, and long-term. The senior center was our top short-term priority. Everyone on the committee understands the needs of what the senior center has and what we're currently providing. So over the course of the past 2 years, we have issued requests for proposals for multiple pieces of property. We have discussed the pros and cons on all those options, and last month we even reviewed a few last-minute proposals that the Board of Selectmen came up with. So the committee has done what I think is an excellent job of reviewing every out-of-the-box option that's been available. And I think everyone that's on that committee, Sue, there's 10 of us or 11 of us? There's 10 of us on that. So the needs of the senior center, the Building Facilities and Needs Committee, along with the Council on Aging Directing, believe we need 3 administrative offices, 1 nurse/wellness office, handicapped accessible bathrooms, a kitchen, a space for activities, and storage of those items. While we understand that this project that we are proposing may not meet the wants of our community, it does meet all of the current needs. This project is ADA compliant and will increase the usable space that the senior center will have to offer. So, what we need to do to support this project is attend town meeting on May 9th and vote to support Article 32. The vote needs a 2/3 vote because it is a borrowing article. And at the annual town meeting on May 14th, we need to vote yes to the ballot question. Now, we understand the wording is a little legalese, but this allows us to take the money that's already been borrowed and use it towards this project. So I'd like to open it up for questions from anybody from the audience. And again, go back to the floor plan schematic. Does anyone have any questions? Barbara?
Just on the question on town meeting,
Yes.
if the question is voted down at town meeting, would that mean that the article is voted down, would that mean the question is null and void?
If the question passes, I think there's an opportunity to call for another town meeting within 30 days. But we can get a legal determination on Tuesday with our town council.
I think there's a, from the past, doing it, I believe there's some sort of, if they vote no on it, then the question itself on the ballot on election day won't matter.
Okay, we'll double check on that. Thank you. Sir?
Two questions, please. First one is 1.7 million gets a complete project, correct?
Yes,
That's everything all in.
that's what we are forecasting right now, yes.
Okay, and then the second question is regarding the language on the yes and no. When I read the warrant, I didn't understand that that's what that meant was for the Council on Aging's transfer of funds
Okay.
to the Council on Aging on the Article 32. So,
On Article 32.
yeah, I didn't realize that question of yes and no.
So the question on yes and no is on the ballot.
Correct. But it's also in the articles in there.
Okay.
It's written in there as for the ballot.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that was associated with this project. So how many other people are that way too in the town? So they're going to look at that and go yes, no, and vote, not really knowing what it means.
Okay. We did feel the language is very confusing, but that was the language that our bond counsel recommended that we use.
Understood. So how do you get the message out to the public?
So I think,
So we did talk about having people here on the day of the election, you know, I'm going to keep it away, and Bush was talking about it, explaining it to them. It's very
Understood. So how do we get it out on social media for everybody, really?
so we're going to take this video, it's going to be posted to YouTube. We can take the team's video and post that as well.
Yeah, 'cause I hate to have the no come back and then it gets defeated because people didn't understand what it really meant.
Yep.
Your questions actually happened because it brings it to their attention. We're trying to explain as best we can. We had to word it in that way to satisfy the bond attorneys and the state when the question gets approved. But we
Now,
need people
bond
to
attorneys.
ask, we need people to understand what we're doing is authorizing us to use money that had been debt excluded for the school for the Council on Aging. And that's important for people to understand.
Anyone else with a question? Mel?
What's the long-term plan for the current building?
For Pope's or for the museum?
Yeah, the Pope's Cabin building. What's the?
So the long-term plan is to basically swap. We would take the museum and move them into Pope's.
What's the current, maybe Scott can answer, what's the current maintenance cost on Pope's on an annual basis?
I don't really know how to answer that because we've done a lot of projects there.
Right, but just as far as like a maintenance, as far as utilities, general upkeep. I don't know the numbers.
Well, we'll have that number for town meeting,
That'd be a good thing to have.
okay?
What kind of foot traffic is the museum currently receiving on an annual basis?
So that's one of the questions that we brought up at the Historic Societies meeting, where COVID has basically shut down everything. The building is basically open by appointment only.
Right, so prior to COVID, what would an average week represent as far as visitors and appointments? I guess my point is the best use of that building for the museum? Because it may be prohibitively expensive to operate that building on an annual basis. Maintaining the building, maintaining the house costs money. Would it even be feasible to sell the property?
It isn't the way that it's laid out right now.
Right, but just for the lot itself, as a value, that could help to defer some of the costs of.
So right now, the way that is laid out is both the water department building and Pope's are on the same parcel. And it's zoned residential, so it would have to be zoned differently if a commercial property was going to rent that space.
Or residence, I mean,
Yep.
doesn't have to be rezoned.
Mr. Gaynor?
As you had made mention before, it's a swap. So basically what we're paying for maintaining Pope's, well, we just moved down the street. And what little cost there was to maintain the museum is now going to swap back to Pope's. I should think it'd be pretty close to a lodge.
A few projects ago, we allocated 1 million something. Where's that?
So what happened with that vote was we authorized the town to borrow $2 million. We never borrowed the money. The money was going to be paid back within the tax levy, not an outside debt exclusion. So we never borrowed that money, so we never made payments, so that basically nothing happened with that. Mr. Conroy?
Is that money in the process of becoming free cash?
No, because it was never actually applied to the budget. There was never a line item to make that
It
payment.
wasn't a line item in the budget, it was an
No, but in order to make the debt payment, it would have had to have been listed within the Article 4. And we never borrowed the money, so we never took on a debt payment. Sir?
One more, regarding this question again. At town meeting on Monday, can this be discussed at town meeting so the people that...
Yes, it can.
And is it going to be brought up at town meeting?
Yes, it is.
People understand that this is a good guess here, not a...
So it's the committee's plan to present this article, this presentation at town meeting.
Oh, okay, so this will be presented on Monday night as well. Oh, okay.
But by having this meeting now, if there's questions that we need to come up with and be able to answer, Mr. Conroy?
In the 1.7 million that was drawn in it, that you said is the all-in number, does that include relocation costs?
So it includes some, and then we also have, this week it was announced we're going to have a grant from the state for $50,000. So the idea would be to use that money to help relocate, as well as if there's new furniture needed to be purchased or anything.
What's the timeline from start to finish for the being built?
So the timeline would depend on our architect, and if I don't know if you would like to present that information.
As soon as we get an approval and the funds are in place and it's all a go on the municipality side, I think this would take between 1 year and 18 months. A lot of it's weather-oriented, material availability, things are long lead items out there, so when something normally takes a year, it's easily 18 months now. If it's 18 months, it's easily a 2-year projection, and then you have an inflationary cost that's going to eat you alive over a period of time. So the faster we get it done, and the more cost effective it will be.
Martha?
I think the bottom line here, folks, I don't think we're going to get a better opportunity to move forward on the council on aging project. And right now, the current facility is completely unusable. It's at risk. And if we can't use the current building, where are our seniors going to go? And we really need to look forward to our aging population in this community, to provide services that are badly needed. We're all aging. We'd all like to stay in our homes in Halifax as long as possible. And the kinds of services and opportunities and support that the Council on Aging offers is unbelievably good. And the social workers, the outreach, the Meals on Wheels, we're all going to be using this in the future. So we need to leave with this when it's basically already been paid for. We're not going to have a better deal. So I encourage you, please vote for this project.
Jean, and then John?
So I was just wondering, because we were talking about this ballot question, so does work start in July, or does work start after we get a yes vote, like in May or whenever?
I think the work depends on when our architect's available to start. Once it's approved,
We still have 6 months of drawing to do on this. So from the time you approve this, we have 6 months of drawing. You have to authorize us to proceed with working on this. You have a 30-day, a 45-day bid process on top of that, and an award process, and then you decide construction after that. So you're looking probably at next spring to start construction.
Mr. Shea?
The price that they're giving us here, is that a choose heat price? That includes electrical, plumbing, all that kind of stuff, and the building and everything else, is that the turnkey price?
Yep, it is.
What about permitting for the environmental impacts? Going to be a lot of soil moved out there.
So actually, Chief Averos has already gone to the Conservation Commission and got approval actually to fill in some of the wetlands areas if it's necessary.
So that's all been permits have been applied for.
For conservation, we still need to go through the planning board and the zoning board if there's any variances necessary, but
What about state permits, environmental state permits?
You won't need one because we're not going to do them with 50-foot long for the wetlands.
anyone else? John?
One more thing, there was a gentleman that talked about selling the building, Post Valley. This is a historical district, this is the center of our town, this is the heart of our town. You'd be hard pressed to be able to sell that on the Historical District Commission to sell private, because the center of our town is the heart of our town. We're trying to purchase property to be able to keep our town intact, and we have to go through that to try to sell it.
Thank you, Mr. Shea.
So you're saying it's 1.7 million now, it's going to be a year before you can start. What kind of a buffer do you have for cost increases? Because I don't see things staying
So
price.
approximately $400,000 is the buffer. Yes, sir.
I have a number of questions. I've heard a lot about the building, I've seen a lot of the drawings, but I haven't seen anything yet on the actual functioning, and I'd like to get a couple of questions answered. First off, as I look at that building lot that's down there right now, and I look at the additions you're putting onto that building, it doesn't appear, from what I've seen, that there's much room left there for parking, even though I understand that behind the building, some of that will get filled in to increase the parking lot. What is the number of parking spaces you're going to have on that lot when you get done?
22 parking spaces.
22 parking spaces, which will be taken up partially by the employees,
No, the employees will be on, we will be parking down in the walk park.
okay? Now, the other functioning part that I'm thinking about, and I'm relating a lot of what I'm looking at to the senior center in Rockland, which I think is an ideal setup. They obviously have a little more land there than what we do. But let's say that our van pulls in with some people coming to visit the center. Is there going to be a circular driveway there? I don't see it in the drawing.
So we actually have it, a drawing over here that I can hold up.
Okay, so you've got an entrance and an exit. So now the van pulls in and they're going to drop off 3 people, 4 people at the front door. Then the van has to exit the other driveway and not to come back in the park onto that same property. Correct?
As it's laid out right now, yes.
Okay. Secondly, how many handicap spots are there going to be there?
4.
4. And where will they be located relative to the front entrance?
I believe they're the closest to the building near this walkway.
Okay? Secondly, how wide are those cuts? Are they going to be wider than that driveway that's down there right now on that property?
Which cuts are you talking about, sir?
The driveway cuts.
Curb cuts from the road into it. They have yet to be engineered, but they'll be sufficient to facilitate that.
Okay, because the driveway on the existing property that they're using can be a little bit of a cluster if you've got a bus pulling out and somebody else pulling in, particularly if they're headed west and turning left into our current COA building. Next factor, one that I think is pretty critical. This speed limit in this town has not been changed since Christ was a baby. But aside from that, we've added a great many more businesses. We've increased the flow of traffic. We've increased homes along this stretch of road. I'm saying from Franklin Street, onto the center of town. And at 35 miles an hour, it takes 136 feet to stop and drive pavement. Now we're pitching cars over the hill headed west. They're coming down the hill, dry pavement, fine. Wet pavement, a little different story. Somebody's coming out of that senior center and they're also heading west. This is the senior driveway. One of the things that is in Rockland is a solar-powered flashing caution sign that reads Senior Center driveway 100 feet ahead. Slow down. Which I think is a good idea, and I wouldn't even give them 100 feet. I'd set it up for 200 feet, it's my engineering. Because people coming out of that driveway, senior citizens, although they may drive down the road holding that puppy dog in their lap, which is basically illegal, at a fast speed, they are always very fast coming out of the driveway. We have to think in road safety. And I don't know why, if at this point, while this project is going on, we can't finally look at the speed limit going by our schools, by our fire station, by our businesses, through the downtown, drop that speed limit right down to 25 miles an hour and stop the baloney. There is no need for the speed limit being where it is when it takes 136 feet to stop on dry road at 35 miles an hour. If you're doing 45 miles an hour with a good set of tires and a decent brake system, it's 196 feet. Dry road. Now give yourself a wet one. Now give yourself a straight truck. Now give yourself a semi-tractor.
So, sir, I think that we could ask the traffic safety committee to take a look at it.
And I think going further than downtown, this should be extended past the entranceways to the Halifax mobile home estates. There are 435 senior units in that estate, 2 driveways. How many people do you think are pulling out of these driveways every day into that traffic? And if you think they're doing 35 miles an hour down there, you haven't been down there.
So I think that's another item that can be brought up for the traffic safety committee.
And I still can't figure out, I've been in this town for a few years, I can't figure out why there was never a traffic light put on 36 coming out. All of these things should be considered relative to safety. If we're talking safety on this project, it should be relative to safety right through the center of town. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Is there going to be any entrance from the property that's behind it? Like right now, there's that pathway.
So we actually had a site survey done. The board of selectmen approved spending money to have the lot surveyed. And we found out that some of that path is actually not on the town's property. And the schoolhouse is not totally on the town's property either. So it was discussed. It's just not being proposed right now. Anyone else? All right, thank you, everyone, and hope to see everyone in town.
Oh, you mentioned one of the visit folks.
Oh, yeah, so we're going to open up Pope's Tavern, if anyone wants to come over and see the building and see what the senior center is currently set up as. Is there anyone that wants to go? No? Okay, then I guess we time is on. Sure.
If I just might add some additional information to everyone here tonight, and I want to thank everyone for coming. It's an important project that everyone's worked hard on, and I just want to read some of the information from the municipality, or actually from the Massachusetts Council on Aging, and it's authorization of Council on Aging, COA, is a department of the municipal government authorized under Chapter 40, Section 8B of the Massachusetts General Laws. This permissive legislation allows a municipality to establish a council on aging for the purpose of coordinating or carrying out programs to address aging issues and coordination of. And that's what we do every day. Our senior center works very hard. Our staff there, the staff that we have, works very hard to put our programs together for the seniors. And going forth, we're not getting any younger. I have numbers here if you want to see them, in terms of the aging population here in Halifax and other communities as well. So going forth, I mean, we're preparing for the future. We invest in our children, we have to invest in aging as well. It's important for us. It's important for our children. It's important for caregivers. It's important for families today wanting to ask questions. And I get those questions every day. How do we handle senior living going forward? Educational programs. So these are very important things going forth, and we have to invest in our community. The building that is proposed, it's a building that's going to be one level. We can have programs now and share that, and have the staff on the premises to monitor if in fact something does happen. So it's going to be it's I hate to say the word no-brainer, but it is, okay? It's $0 to the taxpayer for the senior center. I can't predict what's going to be the future or in taxes, but for the senior center, it's a transfer. Okay, so line item 0. So I hope that, our community supports that. If they care about our, next gen. I really do think it's a viable and, great program, proposal. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So, last call for questions. Mr. Conroy?
I know years ago when we were looking at this, and maybe from a presentation standpoint, it was presented to the town, don't present it as the council on aging. This is a community center that people can use the services of the building. I know we had kind of discussed that making it specifically for one group of people, at least presenting it that way, can turn off potential voters. That if you push it as a community center that services primarily the aging population, but it's open to everybody in town to utilize.
So that was one of the items that came up, and we said that it would be open to the community. It would just be an approval of the Board of Selectmen for a request to use the building, along with making sure that the schedule is clear with the Council on Aging.
But I think it's presented to the community as this is the record. It hasn't got a chance to pass.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Gene. I just want to say, I used the COA a few times, quite a few times, last couple of years. My wife said, since we both retired, we've had a series of medical problems and financial problems and mental health issues. And if it wasn't for the people in the COA, I don't know where I would have been. I mean, I've been so discouraged and so frustrated. I don't have a lot of family support. And I know that when I go down to the senior center, they're always welcome me with open arms. I meet with the guys down there on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings for support group. And they've been outstanding. They've been saved my life. So I just want to say, when that support is place, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And please continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you for the questions. We will have another building needs committee review the presentation, make some updates. And again, thank you everyone for coming out. I hope you support the project.